Welcome back to another edition of our podcast. This is Buddies, Booze, Banters, Unfiltered Conversations. I am Rick.
I'm Michael.
We also have our producer, Alex, with us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Hey, Alex. How you doing?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm good.
You look great.
You do too.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
If we keep talking, then we don't have to listen to Rick.
Well, and coming from you, that really means a lot. Man. I really appreciate that.
Do y'all need a room? I mean,
We need
seriously.
a balcony.
Okay. Well, folks, we're going to change it up a little bit here. I know that a lot of the stuff that we've talked about in a couple of our other podcasts, been a little bit more pop culture, mixed in with a little politics. Let's mix in some business. You know, we are going to make this all about politics today. And I obviously have some very strong opinions. I know Michael does as well. He tends to, curve a little bit more conservative than I am. But I'm going to start off with one because this is one of my favorite topics, as everybody knows.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. I mean, and at this point, you
How
probably
did I know that?
Well, at this point, you probably think I am a Swiftie, but I'm not. Again, I do admire her and her business sense and how she's actually, made herself into a definitely a force to be reckoned with. But it's come out today that Trump's allies have pledged holy war against Taylor Swift.
Good for her.
Yeah. She hasn't endorsed Joe Biden yet, although the conspiracies say that she will endorse him during the Super Bowl, like either just before it or during the halftime or just right after to take the wind out of everybody's win or something along those lines.
You know what would be the perfect time for that?
When?
Is after Kansas City wins the Super Bowl and they're holding up the Super Bowl trophy, and then she comes on stage and then makes the announcement. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be kind of cute if they made their engagement announcement, which is the other conspiracy out there. But I mean, it's whether or not she endorses Joe Biden or not. That's what's really scaring them out there because she obviously has a tremendous amount of followings, and her words matter. I mean, when she talks to her Swifties out there, 1/5 of those individuals are just gaga over her and will do exactly what she says them to do, even though she's not overly blatantly telling them what to do. She can just simply say, register, or I vote for Joe Biden because he does this, this, and this, and all of a sudden they're going to do it. That's what the conservatives are really concerned about.
Can I just interject something right
Yeah.
there? Because basically what you're saying about Taylor Swift and all the people that are going to follow her is no different than Trump, because Trump has his followers.
Well,
except Trump's followers are a lot fewer than hers.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, obviously, when I said that his troops are pledging holy war on Taylor Swift, he's actually come out and said that he's more popular than her.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, he basically feels, again, I mean, we all know that, at least he's been probably convinced that he is the prophet. He is a return from God and things of that sort. And I don't want to get into the whole religious things because that can get into kind of craziness. But I mean, I just find it ridiculous that they just want to continue to bash her simply because she's a very strong businesswoman who actually has an opinion. When they say that she should stay out of politics. She shouldn't provide her opinion. She shouldn't give any advice. She shouldn't even endorse anybody. But it's interesting how they want Kid Rock or they want Ted Nugent or they want all these other conservative, artists and musicians and things of that sort. And they're not saying them to stay out of politics.
They only want what they want. Everything else is get rid of it. We don't want to hear about it.
Well, let's just hope that, when we say that's a 20 to 28% of the population of the United States that are his like cult, that's all that is out there. But anyways, the other thing is about, Trump, because obviously this is going to be a political podcast segment, is Joe Biden is revealing out there. He's getting bold. He's taken some baby steps, but he's finally getting bold enough to say, I can tell you what the world leaders are saying about him.
Yeah.
If he gets reelected.
But it's like Biden has had to take his time because Trump has not gotten the nomination. Now he's the heir apparent or whatever. But you can't do it too soon. But so now it's like he's now the heir apparent. So now he's going to come out with guns, or it's going to be a bumpy road for the next.
Well, I want to read exactly.
10 months.
I want to make sure that I get it right when I read this because this is Joe Biden's words, and this was the interview that he recently did. He says, "I've been doing foreign policy for a long, long time. I know every one of these heads of states, and I've known them for a while. And every meeting I go into internationally, as they are walking out, and this is the God's truth, He does say that. Virtually every one of them pulls me aside and says, "You've got to win. We can't let that happen again. You can't let that happen again. You can't let that happen again." So basically, they're basically saying, "Don't let Trump win," because it's obviously that we as the leaders of the free world, let's say that, have a tremendous impact, not just on other world leaders, but also their populations as well. So needless to say, there's a lot of the leaders out there, especially in democracies, that are scared.
Well, wouldn't it be kind of fun is if they did like the NATO leaders do a video, a musical video like "We Are the World," and it's like they do that for Biden?
Well, then that's an endorsement of Biden. Unfortunately, they may talk a lot in private, but they're not going to actually get on a world stage.
But that would have been cool.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And I think that we saw that, in the 2020 election. A lot of the world leaders were also, privately saying that they needed Biden to win. Well, not just because...
There were a lot of U.S. citizens that said the same thing, too.
Well, no, I get that. But specifically when it came to these world leaders, they were saying that not just because of who Trump was, but because they've also worked with Biden in the past. They understand exactly from a foreign policy perspective and the approach to international relations, how he handled it. Trump was always about isolationist. Let's get rid of NATO. We don't need the UN.
Trump was about Trump and what could make him money.
Well, and that's the other thing, that I find very kind of interesting why people don't realize it. Everybody says a businessman makes a good politician, which is not true. They really do not. If you look at every single one of the actual CEOs or the owners who happen to be private companies out there in these billion-dollar companies, it's not about their people. It's about their pockets. And the fact of the matter is that's Trump himself. He was always about lining his pockets. He's always about, making the next 10 million or whatever he actually has. Who knows? So I just find it very interesting how, everybody says that he is a strong leader and he really doesn't give a damn about all the real politics of things. I don't even think he has a real true policy.
He doesn't, except for him.
Yeah.
He's the policy. Whatever I want, that's the policy.
He's an opportunist as well because, literally, since all the, 91 different types of indictments against him?
91 or 94,
Yeah.
something like that.
He has spent $50 million on his defense, all from donor money.
Of course.
All his legal bills have come from the donor money. He's using PAC money as a slush fund, as an operating slush fund. Now, I don't know how the SEC and all the rules and regulations specifically around campaign financing, all that occurs. Simply because it's an abyss. Since the campaign finance reform never really came through. But isn't that a crime?
It could be.
Well,
but then did you hear what happened in Florida? Some people in Florida, Congress or whatever in Florida, wanted to give money to Trump to pay for his legal bills.
Well, I get that.
DeSantis ultimately said, if that comes to his, he's gonna veto that.
Well, I guess anybody can give money to anybody.
No, I can't. But it's like, but you're talking.
Then set up a GoFund, Trump.
But you're talking Congress people that are doing funds for him or whatever instead of what else they could.
If he needs to set up a GoFund account simply to pay his legal bills, I'm not caring. But the fact of the matter, these are PACs. These are individuals who are getting donations from a political perspective for campaigning. It's not and for their causes. It's not to actually take their cult leader and keep him out of jail. So I'm kind of confused about that. But interesting that you actually mentioned Florida and you mentioned money.
I did.
And legal bills. I don't know quite enough about it. I need to do some more research on it. What is this about DeSantis? And there's like some sort of potential criminal activity on his campaign funds as well. Like it was these incredible private planes and lavish dinners and hotels during his campaign, and then he just like pissed the money away. Have you heard that?
I just saw the headlines. I don't know any of the details. The first thing you could say is all politicians could do all that stuff.
Well, I think to some degree politicians do take advantage of their donors' funds. There's no doubt about it. But and let's be honest. Let's talk about what usually isn't talked about or denied. PACs are not supposed to coordinate anything with the actual campaigns.
Oh, right.
They do.
They do.
I mean, there's no way in hell that can ever be tracked or documented or prosecuted because simply it's just, again, abyss. It's out there in a whole wide world. So, but we want to probably figure out some more about that DeSantis thing because, he's going to rear his head again in 2028. So,
And it's like, is there a limit to how many times you can run for governor in Florida?
I don't know if they have term limits, but keep in mind, I mean, this is the second term. I don't know if he has.
No, it's the second. So I don't know if he can. Can he run again? I'm not sure of that.
We'll have to have our researchers find that out.
Yeah, I hear that, Alex.
Yeah, what was the question? How many terms?
Yeah, how many terms can a governor run in Florida? How long can he stay in office? I think it's only 2. Because if I remember correctly, that when Chris was there, that's why he actually ran for House Representative.
Yeah, so it's 2 consecutive terms or 4 years.
Okay, so I mean, this is his last.
Yeah.
So he can't get reelected.
Because I thought I heard a rumor they're thinking about his wife maybe running next time. I heard that. I don't know if that's
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, most of these, and I'm not just talking about on the GOP side. I mean, so just so everybody knows, I mean, I actually do kind of like poke holes on both sides of the political spectrum here. I mean, let's talk about the governor of New Jersey. He's a Democrat, and lo and behold, his wife's running for Senate. She wants to get, Ben Mendez, who's actually up for indictments for like foreign actors or agents and things of this sort, and receiving billions of dollars from Qatar and all that, or millions of dollars, sorry. So apparently she has a very good chance of winning his seat because of all
my God.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's on both sides. I mean, they try to make nepotism that, and it's like a family business. And you look at the Bushes, that's a family business.
Yep.
I mean, whether it was
The
governor of
Clintons,
Florida,
you could put the Clintons in that
absolutely, 100%. There's no doubt about it. So I mean, it is a business that it's kind of weird on that regards. But it will be interesting to see how he handles losing that power as governor. He does actually have a soapbox that's pretty loud.
Except I think he went the way his campaign went and got no traction. He's not a good front person, and it's just like.
Well, I think it had some good traction in the beginning. I just thought from a campaign.
That's before they knew who he was.
Well, I don't know if obviously he doesn't have people skills or a personality. There's no doubt
doesn't.
about that. But again, there are some politicians out there that are very, very successful even without those. So I guess that from a campaign analysis perspective, they're going to have to dig in to say, okay, when did it start trailing off? And whether it be his times during the debates or the fact that the Colts
That's when
went
he
against
started to attack Disney, Mickey Mouse.
Well, gay and Disney, he has problems there. So I know this is petty,
But go ahead. Petty's good.
I hear that he's like 5'7" in height, and that he wears these
Lifts.
Well, have you seen his boots?
They're lifts.
I mean, it looks like he's got high heels inside the cowboy boots. I mean, it's just like incredible. I'm like,
Yes.
I mean, I just think it's funny. I mean, obviously he has a short man syndrome, which obviously you know what that says. I mean, I get it, but I mean, I just think it's hilarious.
But like I said, he didn't have any kind of personality, and so he's going to be like a footnote in whatever, and he's done.
Yeah, well, let's hope. I mean, I think it depends on what does happen in 2024 and whether or not he's looked as the next viable candidate. Because you think about it, Nikki Haley, she is not obviously the MAGA choice.
No.
At all. So, I mean, even if Trump dropped out now,
She wouldn't get it.
she would not get it. Well, I mean, she would get ultimately the nomination because a lot of big businesses are going behind her, but she wouldn't get the Magna group. She wouldn't get the cult.
She won't get that. I don't know if she would. I don't. The only.
Well, it's kind of like, if he dropped out, there's only one left.
Well, okay, wait, but Trump's not going to drop out.
Well, no. Well, unless he dies.
That's the only way it'll happen.
And if he continues to eat McDonald's and KFC in May.
And for that to happen, sometimes you got to wonder. It's like, okay, people, you should think before you wish for it.
Oh, I know where you're going here.
Yeah, because where Trump did, we're waiting for the appeals court to talk about Trump's immunity.
Which I mean, either way that it goes, it's probably going to go up to the Supreme Court.
Well, it depends because it depends on what they write, whether they're going to accept it or not. You can do it, but they don't have to accept it.
Just so everybody understands what we're talking about, it's kind of like the complete immunity.
Yes.
Whereas as a president, during his time as serving as president, from the day one to the end of the day when he left on January 20th or 21st, whatever it was, 2021, that he had complete immunity on anything that he did from the moment that he woke up to the moment he went to bed.
And when they were debating or talking to this appellate court about why Trump should have this immunity, extreme immunity, basically his lawyer said his lawyer said if you killed your opponent,
Political opponent.
It's like, would you be held to that? And they said, and his lawyer said,
wait, real quick. Was that one of the judges asking that question?
yes.
Do you think that might have been a setup?
Well, but it's like, but they didn't say specifically or whatever. Well, no, it could have been or whatever. But they said but Trump's lawyer said unless, you could kill your opponent, but unless you got impeached and convicted, you could not be taken to trial. And so then, everybody's going, whoa, that can't happen. That can't happen. So now everybody's thinking.
Are they, though?
Well, wait, let me finish. Everybody's thinking is like, okay, that's not going to happen because it's not going to happen. But let's think, what if Trump is right?
Okay.
Okay? Because right now, most of the people do not want a Biden-Trump rematch.
Well, no,
everybody, because they're too old and everything else is.
They
Everybody's
are. Their cognizance skills are definitely decreasing.
Yes, but ultimately that is going to happen. It's going to be a rematch unless something happens. So let's look at it. Let's play fantasy world. Okay. Let's just say the appellate court comes back and agrees with Trump. Mm-hmm. He has the ultimate, being a president, you have the ultimate
complete
power,
immunity,
and it's like you cannot get convicted unless you have been impeached and convicted by the House and by the Senate. So what you need to do is like they come back, they say, okay, that's true. Trump gets it. Then what needs to happen now?
Which obviously is to help his legal cases.
Yes. But then what can happen is, let's just then say Biden then kills Trump.
Well, he actually, instructs somebody to do that.
Okay, but he does it.
I can't see him pulling the trigger himself.
No, but it's like, okay, he does whatever that kills Trump.
He takes his political opponent out of the game.
And so then that gets Trump out of the election.
And he has complete immunity.
And then,
he will be impeached in the House.
Well,
there's no doubt.
No. But then he accuses himself from the presidency because that way then he doesn't get impeached because you have to be president to be impeached.
Well, he could also pardon himself.
Well,
for any and all actions that he's
that could happen too, or whatever.
That was something that was not put to the test when,
I know,
when Trump was in office.
Saying is, but then he could basically then kind of retire or whatever and get out. So that way he doesn't get impeached or convicted, and that way we're going to have two different separate candidates.
Well, even if he did get impeached, think about it. Trump got impeached twice. He didn't get convicted twice. So even if it happened between, let's say, the minute that the appeals court comes out to the actual election in November, and he takes his opponent out, he could still stay president.
No, he could.
He could still say that I'm no longer going to run for re-election, and somebody else is. He could still stay president. He will get impeached in the House because it's obviously, it's a two member majority at this stage, which is ridiculous. I don't know even why they think they're going to pass anything. But he'll never get impeached. He will never get convicted in the Senate. So again, we couldn't remove Trump because he wasn't convicted twice. It's the same thing with, so he has a mark on his legacy of that he was impeached because he killed his opponent. Who cares?
Yeah. But you also, like I said, you can take out.
But my question to you is like, why the hell hasn't his own attorneys or his own campaign people figured this thing out?
Well, because number one is they didn't think that Biden would do something like that.
Oh, because he's actually a moral person?
Yes.
Gotcha. Now, if the shoe was on the other foot, what do you think Trump would do?
Oh, Trump! We know what Trump will do, and we know we'll see that happening if everything goes his way and he gets elected again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw today where you have these pro-life individuals, and I get everybody has their opinions on abortion and things of that sort, are just lining up and being overtly blunt about what their plans are. And which is interesting because they said the states are the ones who have the responsibility to make decisions on abortion, on things of that sort, whether it be from 6 weeks or to term and all that, whether it's a incest or harm to the female who's given birth. So it belongs to the state. But now they're saying that when he gets in office, if he does, he's reelected, that obviously because of the ridiculous majorities inside the actual Senate as well as the House, because they're so close, they will never get anything passed there, that he can do his executive orders.
Yeah.
So now it's no longer a state thing when they're in office. It's now the president's right to do that.
Right.
I mean, the hypocrisy just kind of boggles my mind in that regards.
But I will tell you, the next 10 months is just going to be dirty in all aspects.
Well, you're right. I mean, I know that you are
Because the jugglers are going to come out on both ends.
Well, I know you're a news junkie, and for many years I was. I literally have not turned my TV on for 3 weeks, and not just for news, but for anything, because it's just, first of all, they're all pundits. They're not factual people,
Right.
and just if you are a factual individual, you bring in facts to the table, and it's a legal argument versus my opinion, then I'll hear it. But I mean, nothing on network televisions or any of the actual cable news programs are factual. It's all pundits now and their own opinions. So I won't turn my TV on probably for the next 10 months because of that. I mean, it's just ridiculous, to be honest with you. The fact of the matter is that's how they're making money. They're making money off the potential that we will no longer be the number one democracy in the world.
We're a republic. We're supposed to be a republic.
But we're democracy. We are literally the oldest democracy in the world. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. I will be dictator on day one. Now, the interesting thing about that is he says that I will be on day one. He doesn't say that he's going to stop being a dictator on day two.
No.
That's the thing that everybody's kind of confused about. He's like, no, he wants to be dictator from day one.
But most people think because his first 4 years, he didn't cause that much trouble.
Well, no, he was actually, he tried to, but he was stopped.
He was stopped. But this second go around, Trump learned the first 4 years and all this stuff is. So I guarantee you the backstops that were there for the first 4 years are not going to be there for the second.
Well, he's going to make sure that because everybody who is actually apolitical inside the agencies across the entire government are going to be literally fired.
Yeah.
And he's going to put individuals who actually are part of his cult in there. So bottom line is, he will have complete control from top to bottom of all the agencies. So he will control everything if he's in office.
No, I agree. That totally. And because there's going to be no backstop. There's no learning curve for him now. He learned his first go around.
He learned from his mistakes. He learned from, the individual people out there who are battling him. And he has enough of those individuals who are, quite frankly, just scary as shit around him and his campaign that are actually planning for this stuff.
And what were was it 3 or 4 words that he had to remember in his cognitive test?
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder if he can remember those now.
Probably not. I still kind of just chuckle and laugh about, he's only 230 pounds. If he's 230 pounds, I'm a $125.
He's more like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Well, I think that there was a couple of NFL photographs, NFL quarterbacks that they put some pictures together of the two, and it's like both of them saying that they're 230 pounds at the same height. It's like, no, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. Let's be honest. I understand. I'd be stupid not to. That politics isn't a game, and there is tremendous dishonesty across the board on both sides.
Both sides, totally.
And it's it's a shame that we've kind of devolved into that. But that's exactly where we are today. But the other thing that I want to talk about real quick is, and it's Trump. As you know, that he recently lost the sexual abuse defamation case with Jean Carroll. This was the second case. The first case, he had a judgment of $10 million against him. And again, literally, right after the case was decided against him, he went back on his social media as well as in person and defamed her again.
Yes.
So they went back and sued him again. Well, obviously, this time the jury came back. Again, this is a jury of your peers. This isn't a judge that was appointed by Biden or Obama or
But they
whomever.
keep saying it's just New York, and it's like, so they try to make New York being different or whatever. But there were a lot of guys. I think there were more guys on this jury than.
Well, it's the strategy that I want to talk about here in a minute. So, but first and foremost, he lost. There was $83.3 million judgments against him. And it was broken down to punitive and harm and things of that sort, and ultimately it's 83.3. And of course, a lot of people are like, well, she'll never collect it. Well, actually, it's a little bit different on this case here versus some of the bigger federal cases because he has the right to appeal.
Yes, he does.
But in order for him to appeal in state court, there's one of two things that he has to do. He actually has to get a bond for the 83.3, or he has to put the money up himself to the courts within the next 2 weeks. And if he
And
does,
on the first one for like $5 million, I think he put it up himself, and then it's on an appeal.
yeah.
So,
I mean, bottom line is, I don't think he has 83.3 million to give.
well, that's
I
per
think
him. He says he has 400 million in the bank.
No, I think it was like 4 billion.
No, he said 400 million in the bank.
Oh, it's liquid. Okay, gotcha.
Liquid. There
Okay.
was money in the bank. So then he still had his properties and all that stuff. But it's like, no, he said he had 400 million in the bank.
I don't think he does.
Well,
So I think the route that he'd go is get a bond, but there is like across the board, all legal analysts are saying that he is not going to win this appeal at all. And it would be relatively come back pretty quick in that regards. So I just think it's interesting. But the point that I wanted to stress is, and I was watching E. Jean Carroll's lawyer on one of the actual talk programs, news talks programs, and they basically pointedly asked, it's like, what did you think of when you were giving your closing arguments and Trump just abruptly got up and walked out of the courtroom? And she was honest. She was saying, well, I was facing the jurors. I didn't see it. So I obviously heard about it afterwards. But once I heard about it, I instantly said, that's another $10 million. Because that is the most ridiculous strategy ever. I mean, he literally showed what type of individual he is.
we do. We already know that.
But again, I just thought it was interesting how that, they just don't get it. They just don't get it. And I mean, I get that
It's
you can't
all
control
for a
him.
show for him. He thinks he's got these followers, and they're minority, but they will do anything he tells them to do.
And it costs him money.
Well, he's going to be
Absolutely
dead
crazy.
soon. He's overweight.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's definitely overweight, but I also think that his besides the narcissism and, all those, kind of personality traits that are extreme big flaws. I mean, I've seen so many of his recent speeches that make absolutely no sense. I mean, I love the
'Cause
one.
he's getting old.
Well, no. Well, I just think his mind's going. I literally love the one where 7 times in the same one he mixed up Pelosi and Nikki Haley.
And Nikki Haley's bringing that up too.
And she should actually. It was kind of interesting because Pelosi was interviewed and she brought it up. So, she goes, "Well, first of all, let's address the point that he was actually making. It was him who refused to send the 10,000 National Guard troops to the Capitol to actually help us when I was actually pleading for it, and it's documented. But to get the names." And she goes, "I understand people get names mixed up, but for 7 times, I mean, and that's just one example where his cognitive skills are definitely." I mean, it's so blatantly obvious that he cannot remotely be president of the United States in a coherent capacity. And I'm not saying that Biden is any better.
No.
I mean, literally, it's obviously you can only pray and hope that you have individuals of a sound mind and morals and values and concerns for people in the world who surround themselves, because which I don't think would be with Trump, because obviously he has so many individuals who are just psycho. But even I'm concerned with Biden, to be honest with you.
No, I do. I agree. But when you got where it's going to be tick or tack, it's just going to be is like we don't have much choices like we do unless Trump gets the immunity, Biden takes him out, and then excuses himself and then we have 2 new candidates. That would be the perfect solution for the company, the country.
Well, I mean, just knowing from his values, I don't see Biden doing that. I mean, it would be very interesting if it kind of like came back at him. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I just think it's finding it interesting. Folks, we do actually know that we spent a lot of time on politics today, and we're actually excited about that. We don't do that often. We like to get some pop culture and some, local stuff and some other different news. But we do thank you for spending this last 30 or so minutes with us. And we hope that you will actually join us again. We actually have another podcast of Buddies, Booze, and Banters, Unfiltered Conversations. I'm Rick.
I'm Michael. And where's our Alex?
Buddies.
Y'all have a great day.
Banter.